Welcome to episode 778 of Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, links to social media, ways to listen to the show, and ways to support the show over at the website, which is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. Also, please check out the links in every episode description to help out friends of the show who have also helped out with the show so much. Of course, there's Jen, the Arcane Observer, the co-host of the show. Please check out her link tree, and then also Trouble Minds Radio from Michael Strange, both the show and the network. Trouble Minds Radio, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear my show as well as several others. Great shows, and that is going 24/7. I think that takes care of everything. I've been trying to shorten up these introductions here over time. And so, yeah, tonight we're talking about just experiences people have. And this is my favorite show type to do. This is the one I've started and stopped some other things over the years, reviews and haunted places and other things. But this is the one that I don't ever plan on stopping because this is my favorite kind of show. This and or listener experiences, which is just a variation on the same thing. Just people talking or writing about their experiences and then me sharing that. So that's if I could manage to do this every day all week, that would be amazing. But happy to do this whenever I can as it is. So let's get to the file here, and thank you all for being here and listening in. And I haven't looked at this show document here for about 2 weeks, so I'll probably be just as surprised as you all are at some points here because I've forgotten a lot of what I had in this file. So this first one says, I used to visit my friend at his big old house where we would occasionally hang out and play video games. During one overnight visit, I asked him to tell me more about the paranormal experiences he had there, as he had mentioned it before. He said he heard footsteps coming up the stairs around midnight, followed by more footsteps running towards his bedroom door. He had never been able to investigate further, as he couldn't bear to keep his door open to find out what was making the noise. I wasn't sure I believed him, and he invited me to leave the door open to try it out for myself. I challenged myself to keep the door open and see what was making the sounds. At around midnight, I heard the footsteps coming up the stairs, which sounded like someone walking normally. When the footsteps reached the top of the stairs, there was a pause, and then I heard footsteps running towards the bedroom. I panicked and shut the door quickly because I didn't want to see what was making the noise. The experience has left me wondering what could have made the noise and why it happened almost every night. I regret shutting the door and wish I could go back and face the noise again. I think that I could handle it now. And that's where that one ends. I do understand that feeling at the end there. But I also wonder if I think that's also fairly easy to say after the fact when you know it can't happen. Nothing against the person that wrote that at all. It's just that, but I mean, they could also be right, so it's very tricky. But the sounds, if there was no visual with it, And the people there were obviously afraid, but I wonder if they were afraid just because they couldn't see anything with the sounds or just because of the sounds. It makes me wonder if it was some kind of a residual energy making those sounds. It would definitely still be startling or frightening. But it could be that there was no consciousness or no spirit or soul or whatever you want to call that. No one actually there, but for whatever reason, there was an event in that house at some point that left that audio imprint on the location. It just the fact that it happened almost every night to me makes me think it's a residual, and the fact that it never really went into the person's room, the writer's friend's room. The experience was never really different. It was the same every time it happened. Um, Again, that's why I lean toward it being residual, which is just, I guess, another way of saying it's a recording in a way through energy of we don't really know what kind of energy or how that works, but just a energy field that is like a tape that plays over and over again, and you get the same series of events. So that's what that sounds like. I could be wrong, but I also don't blame the writer there for wanting to or feeling like they would want to go back and experience that again if they could, and leave the door open. I wonder how long the hallway was for them not to see anything, or for them. I don't know. Maybe it's a long hallway or something, or I'm not sure. But it does sound like a residual, but I could be wrong. So anyway, that's a neat one, and I've heard similar accounts of that before. It's a fairly common thing in paranormal reports, just sounds and sounds of footsteps. Uh, and they'll so often when it is a residual, they will never deviate in the path they take. They will go along a floor or stairs or whatever in the same way every time. Uh, Even in some cases, I've heard where they'll sound like they're on a different type of flooring than what is actually there. So in other words, if there's carpet, if a place has been carpeted, but there was a hard surface before that used to be what the floor was made of, people would hear sounds like someone walking at a harder surface, on a solid surface, not the way it would sound if you were running upstairs or running across a surface that had carpet. So um, that's always amazing to me too, because again, how does that's a amazing amount of detail that was, again, for lack of a better word, recorded and continues to play back over and over again. So moving on to the next one here. Let's see. Okay. This one says, I was 10 years old and homesick from school, alone in the house while my parents were at work. I was watching TV and drinking ginger ale when the phone rang. A woman claiming to be Aunt M called, saying she was coming to visit me because we had never met. She asked about my parents, sister, and even our dog by name, and discussed places on Long Island that I had never been to. The woman told me to take care of our dog and to tell my parents she had called. And then just a quick note here, whenever I share these accounts, I do change the names to just initials, so there was a full name, but for privacy's sake, I just made it the initial of M. Anyway, back to the story here. My parents were extremely concerned and questioned me about the call, trying to verify the woman's identity. They said that neither of them had a sibling or relative named M or any variation of the name. My dad worked at the local phone company and checked on the records there for that day. There were no recorded long distance calls to our number on the day of the call. Local calls weren't recorded. The only M in the family was my dad's aunt, who went by Margaret, but had a different first name, who lived on Long Island her whole life. She had passed away many years previously. She was a difficult person who had alienated everyone in the family, including my dad. We've talked about the incident many times over the years at family gatherings. My mom eventually attributed it to a fever dream, despite my detailed recollection of the call. And that's where that one ends. The details of the person that was on the phone call, whether it was the spirit of that person that had passed or not, the details that they seemed to know about the family and about locations that the writer wasn't aware of, but the family knew, that to me makes me think it wasn't just a fever dream. And again, as I always say, I don't know these things for sure, but just considering the possibility of it actually being the spirit or the consciousness of the this one aunt that the writer never knew about because the family had sort of they didn't have the best relationship with her. That to me is amazing that there was that level of detail, and so yeah, that really is amazing. And again, this goes back to a whole topic of weird events surrounding devices of all kinds, phones, computers. Now, the only other option besides it being a spirit somehow is some weird kind of time anomaly. But then that doesn't make sense if she had alienated the family and she never even knew of the writer, possibly. It doesn't say that, so I guess I don't know that for sure. But if she never knew of the writer, but then, and especially if they were born after she had passed, it sounds like that might have been the case, then that sort of, to me, rules that out. So, but really amazing when you have these details that come from an unknown source that are accurate in a way. So, and of course, like I said, I love whenever there's a device involved in an experience, especially with one that clear and where it's a relatively simple device, like a phone. It's designed to do one thing, one kind of thing. So, but that's a neat one. Looking at everything here. Hello for everyone that's here. Thank you for being here and listening. Let's get to the next true story here. And so yeah, devices and interactions with them is always fascinating to me. This one says, I was 12 years old in 2010 when I saw a ghostly apparition of a young girl. The girl appeared to be 6 to 10 years old, but was very small, about the size of a 2-year-old. She had milky dark skin and long black hair. She wore a plain black shirt with shorts. She appeared in brief 2-second flashes, like lightning. I saw her running around the house in multiple brief flashes. I didn't tell anyone at first, but the next year, my eldest sister reported seeing the same apparition with the same description. She even drew a sketch of the figure. which terrified our parents. My eldest brother also reported seeing the apparition years prior to these sightings, with the same description, including the milky tan skin tone. I have 3 other younger siblings in the household, but they didn't see the apparition. Our parents didn't see it either, but believed us and were terrified by the sketch. The last known sighting was in 2011 by my older sister. We continued to live in the house until 2023 with no other sightings. Has anyone else seen a ghost with the same description? I wonder if this is a worldwide phenomenon or a mass hallucination. And that's where that one ends. I lean towards not the mass hallucination thing just because there were sightings that happened that were only revealed later on by the older brother of the same thing that their younger siblings were seeing that they found out about later. It's also amazing in a way that these lasted for some time, some years. Let me go back to the file to find out here again, make sure. But it lasted for some time. Okay, so yeah, so they did last for some time before the writer had their first sighting. But then after 2011, the sightings stopped. I always wonder how that works and why that works, or why that happens. Where you have repeated sightings of the same thing, whether it was a living girl in another time period, or a spirit, who knows for sure. But then the sightings stopped. Only thing I can think of that might fit is as the writer and their other siblings got older, their sensitivity may have decreased, which you do hear about. Kids being more sensitive to these things or more open to these things, not necessarily even sensitive. That's the only thing I can think of that maybe explains that. Although the younger siblings at the time did not see this figure. So again, that could lead to suggest sensitivity on the part of the 3 that did see it versus the 3 that didn't see it. I don't know, but that is always amazing. The way the figure was there and gone and then there and gone, that's always amazing to me too, because that's not how you don't hear that all the time with experiences. Usually, from what I've heard, a lot of times if it's there and gone, that's it. That's all you see of something for the time being, for the day or whatever. I don't know of, I can't think of too many accounts where something was just appearing and vanishing within seconds of itself and in different places around the room. There are some, but not a ton. So, but yeah, that's a neat one. And it sounds like it wasn't anyone from the family. No one recognized from the family. I'd be curious to know what the rest of the family looked like as far as their features. If it could have been, I don't know, some kind of relative somehow. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's a neat sighting there, especially when you have verification from other people that had experiences before you did. That's always really amazing. I've had that before. Not the same kind of thing, but yeah, that is always amazing when that you get that verification of other people seeing the same thing. Let's see here. So let's get at least one more story in here. Okay. Scroll down. There we go. Okay. This one says, it was the last day of 6th grade, and I was walking home from school through a quiet, unfamiliar street in my neighborhood. I had taken a shortcut home, something I had done before, but this time I chose a different route. The street had an abandoned feel, with empty houses and no people around. I noticed a car parked on the side of the road with the driver's side door open. I pretended to be on my phone to avoid engaging with the driver. A man's voice said, "Excuse me, excuse me." I glanced over and saw a man sitting in the driver's seat. He had the same build, face, and missing tooth as my substitute teacher from that year, but his eyes were pitch black, with no white or visible iris. I froze, then sprinted home as fast as I could, without looking back. I remember feeling my stomach drop and a tight feeling in my chest, like something was seriously wrong. I had recently learned about black-eyed children and people, but didn't fully believe in them yet. I'm 18 now, and I still think about it often. I've been scared that the person might come back to visit me, as some people claim black-eyed people do. I have never told many people about the incident because it sounds unreal. But I swear that it happened and that it wasn't normal. I'm not sure if what I saw was a black-eyed person or something else, but I know it wasn't my teacher. That's where that one ends. I haven't done a show on that topic of black-eyed children or people just yet. I think I may need to do that at some point. Maybe that'll be a Saturday show with Jen, the Arcane Observer, because there is a lot in sort of the reports of this happening, and of course there's some famous ones, and there's people that debate as far as whether or not the researchers that looked into that if they were really accurate or not, or if they were sort of trying to get popularity, trying to, again, sharing the stories or making them up or exaggerating them to make money. But even if that's the case, and I don't know for sure, and I haven't looked into that enough to know anything about that. I've just heard things, bits and pieces on shows. Even without that, you still have sightings like this. This is what always amazes me is when you have cases that become famous, and then they are later on. Some people say they're debunked, or they're proven wrong, or they're inaccurate, or whatever you want to say or do, whatever happens with those cases. But then you have other ones that happen outside of those, and they seem to be describing similar things. It always makes me wonder, what is happening there? Does this mean that even in the cases where maybe someone was mistaken or exaggerated, or in worst case scenario made something up completely, does this mean that they somehow led to these things manifesting because others read their accounts and the ideas just got out there, and somehow that created thought forms or whatever? Or are these things already real, and even without the famous cases or famous people that look into them or talk about them, it doesn't matter if there was any kind of misleading attempt on their part, because there's still these cases. I don't know. Anyway, we are out of time. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.